Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us in the Health Sciences section this morning. My name is Martin Holchik, and I'm one of the faculty, and I'm also the current chair of the Department of Health Sciences. And I'm very pleased to see you joining us this morning. I have with me two outstanding first-year students of Health Sciences, Ainsley and Noya. And so we prepared for you this morning just to give you a sort of quick overview of our Health Sciences program, followed by basically a panel discussion of how students are seeing the program, especially from the first-year student perspective. What are some of the challenges, COVID-related, but also not COVID-related. And if you have any questions, please feel free to post them in the Q&A, and then we'll get to them after my brief presentation. All right, so with that, let me just share my screen with you and start telling you about how awesome our program is. All right, maybe Ainsley, you can tell me whether you can see the shared screen.
Yeah, it's good.
Fantastic, thank you very much. So, welcome to Health Sciences. So I assume because you are here, you're interested in science, you're interested in health, and we live in the midst of an absolutely incredible health crisis. And so a question to ask is, so what are the future jobs? What are the opportunities for us in health sciences? What are the healthcare jobs? Because ultimately you go to university to get an education which will allow you to fulfill your career aspirations in a satisfying way. So let me use the COVID as an example, because we live in it and you can really appreciate what's happening around us. So in order to deal with a crisis like ours, we need to have a frontline healthcare professionals, right? So these will be the physicians, the nurses, the screeners at the airports, the people who, when you go to get tested for COVID, who take the sample. So all of these are the frontline people to take care of us. But also we need biomedical researchers. So these will be the people who investigate the virus in this case, how it attacks cells, how the immune system responds to it, what happens in the cell. Can we then use this information to devise ways to combat the virus, come up with different drug treatments, or of course, as we are doing right now, to come up with a vaccine. So this will be all the biomedical researchers. We also need epidemiologists. So these are people who look at the data more globally, and they try to analyze the trends and patterns to see where the disease is emerging more or where we are keeping better tabs on it and flattening the curve. We need public health policy analysts and people. These are the people who take the information from the biomedical and healthcare professionals and the epidemiologists, and they synthesize this and they come up with the strategies which can serve the public at large to deal with a crisis like this. So when we talk about masking, for example, or the keeping the distance of 2 meters, this is a public health policy which is based on science and it's evidence-based. We need health regulators. So when somebody comes up with a new strategy for a treatment or a vaccine, who approves this? Who decides that it is a safe and efficacious and effective treatment? These are health regulators. And finally, and very importantly, we need health communicators. No matter how good your information is, if it is not communicated properly to the public at large, it can create a miscommunication, it can create a crisis of confidence. And you can see it right now, for example, with all the anti-vaxxers or the vaccine hesitant people. So we need to have people who can communicate, take these very complex ideas and distill them into sort of manageable information, which can be then widely disseminated and understood by public. So this, in a nutshell, is health sciences. So who are we? We are a multidisciplinary department which focus on health research and education. And we look at a number of different disciplines. And I list some of them here. But if we look sort of more broadly, there are 3 sort of main aspects. And so we have the biomedical, environmental, and social or psychosocial determinants of health. And our faculty is researching and teaching from these 3 aspects. So if you were to come to our program, you would have not just as a whole program, these 3 pillars are being approached, but also in each class, these 3 different pillars are being addressed. And so we look at health from these different perspectives. We are, as I said, interdisciplinary department. and we offer interdisciplinary programs. So we, as I said, look at all these aspects at the same time. But we are anchored in biomedical science because ultimately it is the biomedical underpinnings of disease which dictate virtually all health outcomes. But we also add to this broad understanding of health and disease from different perspectives. And we try to address skills and knowledge gaps in healthcare system and teach our students and prepare them for health careers in these areas. We offer flexibility to customize our program, so you can have a dual concentrations, you can add a minor in different other areas. The popular ones are communications, neuroscience, business, physics. We offer elective courses, these are breadth courses, which can really expand your area of understanding and knowledge, and it allows you to tailor the degree to your needs and what you are interested in. And very importantly, we have a lot of interactive and hands-on approaches in the program. There are teaching laboratories, there are workshops, there are seminars, and they are fourth-year capstone projects, and I'll get to these in a minute. We offer 5 different concentrations, and I'll tell you very briefly about each one of these. The most popular one is the Biomedical Sciences concentration, and it's really anchored in the genetic, biochemical, immunological, physiological, and developmental aspects of human diseases. So this is what typically people think of sort of a biomedicine. This is what you would get in this concentration. The next concentration is global health, which is currently very acutely, we are all aware of this, how things are not localized, things are always connected. So we look at health from this sort of global perspectives, and we focus on real world challenges. And it's kind of almost ironic talking in the middle of pandemic about this. We used to have Ebola as an example of global health issues, just to help understand people what it is. And we look at COVID as a much more bigger global problem. Environment and health. Our Prime Minister just returned from the COP26 meeting where environment is upfront, climate change, all the issues associated with the environment in which we live in, and it has absolutely tremendous impact on our health. So the environment and health concentration investigates these aspects, and we look at environmental chemistry, pharmacology, toxicology, policy and regulation associated with this, and of course, epidemiology. The fourth concentration is disability and chronic illness. This is a concentration which is unique to Carleton, and it is an intersection of the biomedical, social, and psychological basis of chronic illness, right? So we look at not just what causes the illness, but also trying to explore strategies and technologies which can allow people to have productive and healthy lives despite the chronic illness. The final concentration is health through the lifespan. And this concentration looks at different stages of health. So we know the things which happen during conception, even preconception sometimes, and certainly during the development of the fetus, have tremendous impact on the health outcomes of the individual. And so this is what's explored in this concentration. Let me give you a quick sort of snapshot how the program looks like. If you go on our website, you can find these snapshots for every concentration. In first year, as you see, the bubbles are roughly the same size. Health sciences is 2 courses, and the rest is very similar, whether you're in biology or neuroscience and chemistry. You have to take biology, math, chemistry. But as you progress through the years, the health sciences bubble of courses gets bigger because we start specializing. And ultimately, this culminates in the 4th year with the Capstone project. And capstone projects, I'll get to them in a second, allow you to take the information you have and you can synthesize this. And this is basically the pinnacle of your education of those 4 years. In addition to the prescribed courses, which are in those light-colored bubbles, there are credits and electives you can take from other concentrations, but also from other science programs, but also free electives you can take from anything else, whether it's a math, could be arts or whatever, music, whatever is of your interest. And these allow you, as I said, to tailor the program to your interests and make it of most interest to you. So how can students get involved? We have capstone projects, as I said. They can be a 4-year thesis research, but also we have different summer student research opportunities and also volunteer research for students. We have a broad and diverse faculty which covers a wide variety of research. And I don't want to read off the slide, but it varies from a single cell all the way to population. And you can think of the program as looking from a cell to a tissue to organ to organism to population to society. And so our faculty is award-winning faculty with respect to research of these areas of research, but also we are award-winning educators. And so it's important that we can bring different educational strategies into the classroom as well. Our faculty is well-funded, so it does a cutting-edge research, and it's connected both nationally and internationally, which allows our students then to participate in this research, including traveling to exciting places abroad. I mentioned we have three different fourth-year capstone opportunities. So one of them is a fourth-year capstone placement, which typically happens in our partner institutions. This year we have 30 different opportunities for students, and they typically happen more locally. Some of the examples I'm listing here. So for example, in the Children's Hospital or the Ottawa Hospital, Health Canada, Ottawa Police Services, Public Health Agency of Canada, and others. But also we have international opportunities for our students. So obviously COVID put a hold on this, but hopefully we are hoping to resume this in 2023. And we have two opportunities in Trinidad and Belize, which look at community-based health programs and mental health. The second option is for students to work on their thesis. And so this will be working with the faculty of their choice in the research group. And it can be either in the data lab, so our faculty does community-based or database research, or it can be in the wet lab. So this will be in our facilities on the third floor of the Health Sciences building. And the research is not just academic research. The outcomes of these research projects are very tangible. And so our students have been featured on TV. They published papers in scientific journals, but also in the local media. They won different awards at conferences, both national and international. And they have an opportunity to work with both faculty and also our partners outside. The third option is called a research essay, and this option allows students to work on sort of the backstage of a research project. Now, how do you come up with a research hypothesis? How do you write a proposal, a winning proposal? How do you get the funding for these proposals? So these are the three different research options for our fourth-year students. So if I were to quickly summarize what are our strengths, I would say we are student-focused. We have relatively small class sizes, which then allows for a community feeling. So we can still proudly say that we know our students by name. We offer flexibility to customize our courses, concentrations, allowing minors. And again, this is the purpose of this, is to tailor the education to your interests and your needs. We offer hands-on and interactive approach. Carleton is very strong in experiential learning, and our department is no different. And especially in sciences, it's critical that you experience both the theoretical framework of the work, but also you have an opportunity to try it hands-on. We have outstanding and well-funded faculty researchers that are funded by a variety of different sources. And we offer research opportunities from the first year. So as a first-year students, you can work already with the researcher as part of the Dean of Science Research Internship, the DSRI. And in upper years, we have health sciences research internships for our students. NSERC USRAs, which are that's a national competition for our students. And because we engage with external partners, we can allow for interactions for students to be part of these larger research groups. And of course, you ask, so where do our graduates go? We are a fairly recent program. We've graduated now 4 cohorts of students, and they end up going to 3 different mainstreams. So our students go to professional postgraduate programs. This will be medical school, law school, teachers college, nursing, pharmacy, so the traditional professional programs. Our students end up going to continue their education, graduate studies in different departments. We have our own graduate program, both master's and PhD level, but our students end up going to other programs as well, for example, epidemiology, data science, and others. And many of our students choose to go directly into a workforce, and they find opportunities in healthcare, in health research, We have students who work in, for example, cosmetic industry or in the clinical research organizations which run and organize clinical trials. Unfortunately, because you're in a virtual environment, I cannot show you and take you for a tour or our facility, but we are absolutely excited that we have a brand new health sciences building, which was opened 3 years ago. And in this building, we have both our teaching facilities and our research facilities. So we have state-of-the-art laboratories, and you can see some of these images here. This is actually from our labs, which are running right now. We have collaborative classrooms. We have fantastic campus. I always say that Carleton is sort of a gem of Ottawa because it's this beautiful island nestled between the two rivers, and the campus is absolutely spectacular. So I hope you will join us. I hope you will find that our program is the right program for you. And we'll see some of you, if not most of you, in September. And with this, I'll stop my presentation and I'll open the forum for questions for our students. And thank you very much for your attention and for your interest in the program. So let me see if we have any questions coming up. And as they slowly start filtering in, I'll start asking questions. Maybe, Noya, I can start with you, if you wouldn't mind sharing your experience. Why did you choose the health sciences program? Why did you come here?
So I was pretty clear that I wanted to study health. And I mean, I thought in high school that it's biology, but once I went over the entire distribution of the health science program, once I saw the concentrations, I realized that no, health is a separate field and I am interested in this. And well, my sister has gone to Carleton, so she speaks of it in high regards. So Carleton was, of course, a no-brainer for me. But when I saw these concentrations, when I saw that I can, customize my degree. So I have a concentration in biomedical science and I have a minor in neuroscience. So, it allows me to study health from so many different perspectives. And for a person like me who's not sure as to what I'm going to do, like pursue my master's or get into research or, go to med school, I think this degree and especially the biomedical science concentration was the deciding factor for me. And it'll help me choose what I want to do in the future.
And you brought you brought a very good point, which I just wanted to emphasize that, it's sometimes unfair to ask 17, 18-year-old people, what do you want to do with your life? And not everybody knows exactly what is it they would like to do. And what we try to do in our program is to allow people to see what the options are. Some people come with a very firm sort of idea, I want to be a physician, and it's fantastic, and we'll support you in that. But there are so many more different things in health, and not just being a physician. And sometimes we see the students actually they're not aware of these opportunities. And so I want to just sort of emphasize, we are not a pre-med. We'll help you get there, but there is more to health than just being a physician. And so I'm glad to hear that it's actually what also worked for you. Ainsley, how about sort of slightly different question perhaps for you? As a first-year student in the middle of a virtual learning and a COVID pandemic, how did you find that switch from high school, the transition from high school to university? How did it go for you?
Honestly, it was pretty seamless considering the last 1.5 years of high school were also mostly virtual. I see a lot of our viewers are probably in the same boat where you had to have a modified experience to your high school and do a lot of self-directed learning and self-motivation. So it was pretty seamless, like I said, because I was already used to this kind of learning. The only thing was the increased workload. It was a little bit to get used to. But I find when you're doing something that you enjoy, such as this program, because it's a really good program, the work seems a lot less and a lot more fun and easier to do than in high school when you're taking classes that you might not particularly like. In university, you're taking something that is your passion. So even if it's a big, large workload, you're going to have a great time. So yeah, the transition, it's been pretty easy. I know it varies based on person to person, but that's been my experience.
Even chemistry?
Oh yeah. Honestly, chemistry is my favorite class, I have to say.
That's interesting. Thank you. And if for the audience, please, anything, any questions you have for us, just if you can type it into either chat or Q&A. Actually, Q&A will be better. Then we can answer them to our best abilities. And it's a great opportunity. Both Ainsley and Noya are first-year students, right? So they would be sort of as close to what you will be experiencing as possible, so they can give you a first-hand experience of how things are. So maybe then a question, sort of, Noya, for you, sort of similar. What did you find most challenging when you started in the fall?
So initially, I think it was the time difference because I am in Canada right now, but when I started, I was back home in India. So I think the time difference in adjusting to like the live classes was a little difficult. But apart from that, I was actually just worried about how difficult the university courses are going to be, and I wouldn't have time and stuff like that. I was worried about that before the classes started, but once they did, I think I was actually having fun in each of my courses. I cannot relate to the chemistry thing because I got a transfer credit for that. But I do understand what students are going through with, everybody saying that it's difficult. But I can assure you all that if you enjoy it and if you really know that it's your passion, like Ainsley said, you're going to have a fun time. So that was like the only challenge for me. Nothing
Yeah,
else.
well, that is certainly good to hear. Let me just sort of jump on a couple of questions here coming from the students. So one of them is whether you can do a minor in psychology if you are in health sciences. So the answer is yes, as long as the department which offers the minor, so in this case psychology, if they offer a minor, then you can combine it with health sciences major. And so often the requirements for a minor are dictated by the host department, but absolutely, and often you will find that departments actually work together to allow use of some of the courses for minors. There's a question for how many students are admitted into the program each year. So our typical cohort is around 120 students. We put a cap on admissions, and the cap is 130 students. And the reason for a cap is that in the upper year, so second and third and on, we start offering our own teaching laboratories. And so we want to make sure that these laboratories are done at the most up-to-date technology. So for example, in the third year in immunology, you'll be doing flow cytometry, fluorescent microscopy. And so there is a limit on how many students we can have in these labs. And so our cap is 130 students. Maybe I can sort of skip again, Ainsley, to you for another question. So again, talking about this online learning, and I know Carleton is now offering a mixture of online and in-person courses. How is that working for you?
Honestly, it's been pretty good. The only thing would be asynchronous lectures. So those are lectures that are pre-recorded. It can be a little bit hard to kind of motivate yourself to do these, so they can kind of pile up. I'm sure Noya, you have experienced that too. But I really like that I can kind of schedule most of my time based on how I would like to. So lectures, if they're pre-recorded, I can watch it whenever I want. And I don't have to be in a classroom at a specific time. So it's also good if you have like appointments or something. You can just do that and then do your lecture at a different time. And a lot of my quizzes have been open book. So that's also a plus with the online environment for sure.
And is your experience similar, Noya?
Yes, it is. Like Ainsley said, lectures can pile up because they're pre-recorded, but I guess if you space your time, if you space them out and manage your time well, I think it's manageable and you'll enjoy it. So.
Yeah, I mean, as somebody who teaches, I am on the other end of this. I can tell you that the challenge of the online teaching is keeping the student engaged. And so it's always easy with the motivated students. And so clearly the two of you are enjoying the program, so are motivated, but it's not easy for everybody. And so the key thing is always to be not hesitant to ask for advice, ask for help, reach out to your peers And there are no, you keep hearing this all the time, there are no silly questions, right? So it's so important to be able to ask for help, ask for questions. If you have any questions, clarifications, because it does pile up. You're absolutely right. It goes fast. We're halfway through semester, right? There's a question here about physics and the grade 12 physics. So for our program, the program requirements, so to get into the program requires certain university sort of level courses, or grade 11 or grade 12 courses, but the actual program you start at Carleton has no impact on that. So for example, whatever type of physics or biology or chemistry you take will not dictate what you then have to take when you're in a first or second year. It's a little bit more prescriptive in the sense that it's same for all, unless you choose to do it, because you can do it as a part of your electives. So we have students who, for example, will minor in physics, so they're taking different physics courses, but you are not obliged to do that. And there's a question about a prospective student from Ghana. So good evening for you, I guess, because it's a different time zone. Whether we do a pre-med track. So we don't do a pre-med track in a sense that it's specifically focused on getting people into the medical school. Our biomedical concentration is what often people would consider as a pre-med, in a sense that it's anchored in biomedical sciences, so genetics, physiology, anatomy. But it's not, and we are quite adamant about it, this is not sort of a one path to medicine, because students, for example, who would like to do postgraduate degree in the wet labs, in the research, they would also take the biomedical track. So that's the distinction there. All right, let me see here. So how do you, Aislinn, for both of you, how do you meet your fellow peers online? Like, how do you do that?
I can start if you like. Okay. So the first week, we had a lot of different group chats on pretty much every social media with all the health science students. So the first week, I know a lot of us met up for lunch or for coffee on campus. So even though it's online, a lot of people did live on res. So they're there anyway. So we would meet up a lot, meet each other, and we've honestly gotten really close since then. So it's really fun.
For me, well, I haven't really met anybody in person, but I know that, we have so many different chats and so many different social media platforms. So I guess I stay connected through that. And that's also a pretty good way to meet my peers. And, obviously I cannot wait to meet them on campus in person. That's obviously a different feeling altogether.
And Noah, you're also a member of the Health Sciences Student Society.
Yes.
Maybe you can tell us a little bit about what that is all about.
So I'm a first year rep at the Health Science Student Society. And it is basically a society that represents the entire health science student body. So any concerns that you have, anything that you feel like you need to communicate to the professors, to the Department of Health Science, or learn a bit more about the health science field and connect with your peers and learn more about what they are doing and how you like to go on with your degree and your career and whatnot, you can actually join the society. It's a very good way to get involved.
Excellent. And I must also say that as a chair, I have an opportunity to work with the executive of the society, and our society is one of the more active ones on campus, and it provides a fantastic opportunity to build the community of the health sciences. We are a fairly new department, and so we are just building, or we have the luxury of building our own identity, and we are doing it with the students. And so there are lots of things I know society is doing for students. And for example, this research night is coming up this coming week, where we put just students and faculty together, talk about their research. So kudos to you, and thank you for being part of that already as a first year. There is a couple of questions maybe I'll answer together about the application process, number of applicants, and if there is any supplemental information needed. So we typically get between 800 and 1,000 applications every year, and the acceptance into the program is only based on GPA. So there is no application, there is no sort of supplementary information, there are no essays or anything like that. The entry cutoff is 85 to 88%. And so as I said, we take about 130 students. So that's the acceptance rate. Somebody's asking what's the acceptance rate. So that would be, let's say 130 out of 1,000. So what is it, 13%, if my math is right, or something like that. And it doesn't really, we didn't, between the Canadian and international students, there is not much of a difference because we are using the same criteria for both. All right, so that's answered. Let's see what else is here. Okay, so here's a good question. How does an average day look like for you guys? Maybe you can each take a stab at this.
So personally, I chose to schedule my classes Monday to Thursday and then have Friday off. So Monday to Thursday, I have a lecture in the morning around 10 a.m. It's either calculus or health science. And then I usually have an in-person component in the afternoon, so a lab or a tutorial, which is kind of like a discussion group for those of you who don't know. And then in the afternoon, I usually come home, I kind of relax, walk my dog, and then I usually study for somewhere around 5 hours, but I know that might sound like a lot to high school students, but I kind of chose it that way to have everything condensed so that I could have Friday off to, sleep in and do any kind of overflow assignments. So it does depend on the person and your goals as well, how much you'll be studying, but that's usually my day. I usually end around 10 or 11.
So as for me, I don't have any in-person components. So everything's online for me. So on Tuesday and Thursday, I have live lectures. Apart from that, they're just pre-recorded. So I sort of make a task list as to what I need to accomplish every single day, what are lectures I need to watch. And I prefer that they are between Monday and Friday so that, on the weekend I can, go out. And since I'm new to Canada, I really want to go out and explore the place. So I prefer that I keep my weekends free. And, I get up at like 8 or 9 in the morning and watch my lectures, probably take a break here and there for lunch or, to play with the cat in the house. I don't know where she is. And yeah, that's it. And I end my day at around 10 or 11. So it sounds like a long day, but it's not. It's actually, it sort of flies by, to be honest.
Yeah, time flies by. That's very true. Sometimes we don't realize how quickly it goes. Thank you. Here's a question about if we can comment on class sizes through the 4 years. So maybe I'll give sort of the overall feeling for it, and perhaps you both can sort of comment on your personal experience. So typically in the first year, you would be in the larger classes. So, when I was showing you the snapshot of our program, the two health science classes, so one is in the fall term, that's the Introduction to Fundamentals of Health, and then in the winter term, it's Health Science Communication. So here you would be just with your peers. So given our intake of, let's say, 130 students, you would be never in a class bigger than that. However, the other classes, chemistry, biology, math, these are for all students in the Faculty of Science. So you would be in a much bigger class. Now, as you start progressing through the program, you start sort of specializing more. So in the second year, we have courses which are only for health sciences students. So you would have a second year microbiology, second year pathology, introduction to health research methods, social determinants of health. So you'll be just with your cohort of students. So we do see attrition from the first to second year between 5 to 10% of students. So your class size then shrinks. In the third year, the courses get even smaller because then students are sort of diverging in the courses they take. So the class sizes, again, shrink a little bit, especially for the more specialty courses. So some of our courses will be required for all students in all concentrations. So those you would see your entire cohort. Some classes are only unique for separate concentrations. And then you would see only students from that concentrations. Now, of course, students from one concentration could take a course from the other concentration. So it's not just your students. So to give you an example, for example, I teach a third year diseases of childhood, which will be part of the health through lifespan concentration. But often there are students from biomed there as well. So the size of the class is between 40 to 55. Now, we usually do a field trip to the hospital, so we then have to kind of worry about how big the class could be. So there is a cap on the class. At the same time, if you are taking immunology, and every student in our program has to take third-year immunology, you will be your entire cohort. So we would be with your 80 to 100 students. But also, for example, in third year, there are seminar courses where the size will be 15 students. So we split the entire cohort into 4 or 5 sections, and then it's only 15 students. So then you can have a meaningful sort of seminar conversation. So it varies. But it gets smaller as you go through the program. And I guess, Ainsley, you guys have already done the big courses so far, right? So maybe you can, how does it work in the online? Like, you get split into smaller sections, I think, or how does it work?
It's hard to say because a lot of the classes, it is asynchronous, so I don't know everyone in my class, but I know, for example, my health science class, I have a tutorial that's in person, and it's probably somewhere around 10 people. So that's really good. I know last week I was just saying how it feels like we're all just a group of friends. So that really helps because a lot of it is presentations and collaborating. So as someone who can be a little bit shy, that's really great. Just being able to get really close to everyone and really helps you reach your fullest potential that way, just being in a small group.
Yeah, same for me. I actually don't know a lot about the other asynchronous courses because I think the class sizes are bigger there. I'm not sure, but as for health, at least, we have these tutorial groups, and since mine's an online section, so I think we're somewhere between 25 to 30 people. And then, we were split up into smaller groups of 4 or 5 people to sort of collaborate and do these group presentations and sort of research. And that was nice. It's actually better when, only a few people are working together. I think what you're working on is sort of more concentrated, and you come up with something that's more productive and more helpful rather than 100 people collaborating on one thing.
Yeah, and it varies, of course. Every professor chooses to run it a bit differently, but the smaller the group, the more interactive the group can become. That's very true. There's a question here about the co-op opportunities in our program. So we don't have a co-op as part of our program. In a sense, the co-op typically means adding an extra year to your program and you're working somewhere. Instead, we have the research field placements option in our 4-year capstone, which allows students to work with a partner outside for the duration of those 2 semesters. So what's the difference? So in a co-op, you don't go to school, you just work and you get paid for it. In the research placement, it's done as part of one course. And so you still have to take the classes, but you also have to work with our partner. And it's typically, if I'm not mistaken, it's 8 to 10 hours a week. It's sort of the agreement. And so it provides a sort of similar opportunity to a co-op, but it's much more sort of focused, and it doesn't add 1 year on top. Let's see here. This may be very personal, and I know everybody's different, but how do you, Ainsley and Noya, what tricks do you do for sort of keeping things done on time? How do you track your deadlines and to make sure that nothing sort of slips through the cracks? And maybe I can learn from you.
I can't stress how important this method is. So for all of you listening, make sure to remember this. I know a lot of people that use the same strategy, but the day that you get your syllabus for each class, there will be deadlines on that syllabus. Write them down right away because you won't be able to go back and find it. Like you will, but a lot of work piles up and it kind of gets lost. So what I do is I make a Google Doc and I format a table to kind of look like a calendar. And then I put in each deadline into the calendar, color code it by class. And then every time I complete something, I'll just highlight it in a different color. This way, you can kind of see your week ahead, what you have due, manage your time, because a lot of assignments, you can't just whip it up in a couple of hours. It takes 2 weeks or it takes a week. So it's important to always be looking ahead and see what you have to do. And it's also really motivating to look back and see everything that you've done so far. So that is my best piece of advice, is just make a calendar, whether it's a Google Sheet, a Google Doc, whatever, and put in all of your deadlines in the first week.
Maybe I can try that.
So I also did the same thing. I sort of read the course syllabus and noted down the deadlines. And I also actually added like the percentage of each exam or the assignment, just to, keep myself a little more motivated. But I did that on paper because, I purchased this really cute notebook, so I wanted to use it for something. And yeah, that helps me keep track of my deadlines. And I sort of have this daily task list, like I mentioned, that also keeps me motivated to, complete things on time and during the day, spaced out as I want. I don't limit myself to like certain time blocks. Instead, I prefer doing it, sort of on my own pace because every day is different, right? So
Very true.
do what works best for you. I mean, that's going to help you in university for sure.
Yeah, that's very true. Don't let things sort of pile up because it's very hard to do it afterwards. Yeah, thanks. A question back to the psychology is: can you do minor in psychology? Yes. So you can add minor from almost any other department as long as that department allows for a minor. So there is a minor in psychology, yes. So we have a couple of minutes left, I think 3, if I'm not mistaken. So if you have any outstanding questions which we have not answered, please put them in. We also have a booth where our administrator and undergraduate advisor Sandra is with some other students. And so you can also just pop in there and ask questions there if you have any outstanding questions. And at any time, please feel to email us. We're always happy to engage with our prospective students. We can give you more information, or perhaps something which we were saying here triggered a question later on. So no, don't be shy. Email. You can find our emails on the website, either undergraduate health sciences at carleton.ca, or you can email directly to Sandra or to myself, and we'll be always happy to talk to you about that. Maybe a sort of not a fair question, but I'm going to ask it anyways. What Ainsley and Noya, what did you so far? What's your favorite part so far about your fall semester, either about Carleton or being in Ottawa or program?
I would say, in terms of classes, definitely I'm having a lot of fun with chemistry, especially because we have in-person labs in the super lab. So that's really a great opportunity. Can be a little bit nerve-wracking going in there the first time, but it's really great to get some hands-on experience. And also, as I had mentioned, the Health 1000 class. It is such a good class. It's all research-based and real-life applications. So it's really what you picture when you say you're going into health sciences program. This is the class that kind of embodies that. So those are my favorite classes so far. And I'm also just loving the independence of being able to get myself to class and make my own schedule, motivate myself, and do what I'm really passionate about.
So for me, it's obviously the courses are so application based and so based on real life events and incidences. It's really fun to finally understand like the real time working of not just this field, but multiple disciplines within this field. And obviously, I'm also sort of having fun understanding different perspectives of different students because Carleton has a diverse student body, so, and especially the health science department. So far, I've seen people from so many different countries, not just Canada. So we have international students, we have local students, and to understand their perspective, where they are coming from, it's always fun to sort of get to know them and to understand more about how they think, and it helps you at the end of the day. So I know it's helped me so far. And then there are courses like psychology that I'm having fun with. It's just Dr. Motz is really great. He's really fun and quirky, and he makes the lectures fun. And even health science, the fundamentals of health. Our professor is so amazing. Like she's really kind and she's sort of lenient with us. She understands the pressure. And I think every professor in the health science department understands the pressure that is placed on university students, and they will help you throughout. So, when people say that in university you're going to be alone, and, they just make it seem like this big, dark, scary room, it's not like that. The professors, TAs, everybody is here to help you. And I've certainly seeked help so many times, and I'm not scared anymore. So I guess I'm having fun.
Oh, that's good to hear. No, that's very good to hear. And you're absolutely right. I mean, it could be scary. The transitions are challenging, and so our responsibility and what we like to do is to help. And it goes back to what I said before. You must not be afraid to ask for help, ask for clarification. Anyhow, I think we are out of time. I hope we answered all the questions. I know, Stanley, you helped to answer the question about the prerequisite courses and averages. Wonderful, thank you. Some of these you can find also on the admissions website, some of the answers to these questions. So with that, thank you again very much for joining us this morning. I hope we will see some of you in the fall. And Ainsley, and thank you so much for taking your Saturday, which you set aside, and to spend some time with us. And I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of the weekend, and see you on campus or on Zoom. Thank you.